Hello everyone, and welcome back to another review of the Bittersweet Candy Bowl. Today we will be taking a look at Chapter 3, Merry Snow Day. We start off with Lucy waking up, melancholic that she has to go to school another day. She notices the snow out her window, and instantly her attitude changes. She excitedly runs down the stairs, and I have to say, Happy Lucy is one of the most wholesome things ever. So far, we've not seen Lucy this happy. Usually she has an angsty tsundere attitude, so it's nice to see this change of pace. She cheerfully greets Mike at the door and questions his backpack. He tries to tell her something, but she soon learns what it is when a news reporter explains that schools are still open. Lucy gets distraught and cries while Mike tries to comfort her. Here we see the first instance of her not liking to be touched, something that remains a common thread throughout the rest of the comic. Mike gets a bit flustered from this. Lucy and Mike walk to school together, and he manages to cheer her up a little by commenting that schools might be closed the next day if the snow keeps up. They meet David, and we get to see more of his off-the-wall antics. He refuses to go to class because they didn't cancel school. Mike tells him that they'll mark him as absent, and he is branded as a communist. David tries to hit on Lucy by insinuating that they might have hidden feelings for each other, though I'm sure this is more David's over-the-top nature and less him actually having feelings for her. David doesn't really show much interest in her or many other girls in the comic. Lucy calls him a smelly hippie and walks away with Mike, who gives him a smug grin. Here we can see that Mike feels like Lucy picking him over David is a little bit of a triumph. David yells out, asking what Lucy likes, though the audience knows the answer to this. Lucy goes fisticuffs with an arrogant snowman who turns out to be Yashi. She concedes and brings her along. Daisy shows up to fawn over Mike, and we get a nice reference to the video game character, which she doesn't much appreciate. Yashi also gets the start of another plot thread, where she believes that Lucy and Mike are an item, and fends off any other potential love interests. Of course, any reference to Mike and Lucy being an item makes her blush, and she leaves Yashi behind in the snow. I can't also help but notice Lucy's look of almost annoyed jealousy at Daisy after she successfully convinces Mike to come hang out with her after school. Lucy nearly falls in some ice, and Mike catches her. Note that this time she doesn't tell him not to touch her. She gets the idea to take the opportunity to skate around from Yashi, and while Mike is enthralled with her, Daisy gets jealous. She pretends to slip too, so Mike will go to aid her. Lucy slides into her teacher and then pretends to have hurt herself in one last attempt to get out of school. Merry Snow Day is another nice look into the dynamics between the characters. There still is no overarching plot just yet, so it holds its own as a standalone chapter. The great thing about these chapters is that it sets up a lot of interesting plot and character beats for the authors to play along with moving forward. It reestablishes things set up in the prior two chapters and expands on them a little. And even without the other pages, we can still get a strong sense of who these characters are through them. Another excellent feather in this comic's hat.
I got your head